Welcome, everybody, to the debut edition of the Around the Association pod. I'm your host, Danny Thompson, and it's been a while since I've done an actual podcast back on radio. I understand that everybody's been asking me about when I'm coming back to radio and doing podcasting again, so I'm back. And so for the next 12 to 15 minutes, we're going to be talking everything in the NBA, some of the big news of the day, things that you might have not missed, some things you need to catch up on, or a little bit of insight of some of the top stories across the NBA going on today. So if you want to follow me on Twitter, it's at NBADT29. Also check out the website, which is aroundassociation.com, for the latest articles that I post around the entire league. And also, if you want to check out my work with the Orlando Magic, check me out at FloridaNationalNews.com. Yeah, it's been a while since I've been doing podcasting, and it's been a minute since we've done this format. So let's get into some of the top stories. It is January 22nd, so I'll be doing these pods 2, 3, 4 times a week as the moment hits me. And at the same time, these pods are about anywhere from 10 to 12 minutes. So it's something you listen to on your lunch break, something you listen to on your break, or just, as you're moving around all across the United States. So like I said, we love all feedback and time. So since we have a limited amount of time, let's go ahead and let's talk everything NBA with you today. So the big story of the day so far was the Wojnarowski report, the Wojnarowski report, Woj, basically about what's going on with Kawhi Leonard and the San Antonio Spurs. As you know, Kawhi Leonard has been shut down indefinitely because of the lingering injuries that have gone on since the start of the season. They're not saying it's the same quad injury he had from the start of the summer. Now it's also a shoulder injury. Now it's also just a simple fact that the man's pretty much hurt right now. So the report comes out there could be potential disconnect between Kawhi and the entire Spurs organization. If that's the case, funny thing is, with disconnects, it can take a whole turn different ways. It could be some miscommunication. It could be a player being unhappy in a situation, or it could be just a simple we don't know, and a player being frustrated because of an injury that there's really no diagnosis for. In the case of Kawhi Leonard, the comparison was the same quad injury that Tony Parker had a couple years ago that kept him out for 7 months. He missed the playoffs and was able to come back the next season. During preseason, Coach Popovich said that Kawhi would miss most of preseason, a good chunk of the beginning of the season while he became healthy. After missing his first set of games, Kawhi came back for 7 games before the team shut him down again. He didn't play back-to-backs and really did play limited minutes throughout the entire time he was doing it. So the performance level of Kawhi hasn't been there to the all-star levels we have seen on both sides of the ball. Now Leonard has been shut down. If for some strange reason that Kawhi and the team can't seem to get along, the trades for Kawhi Leonard could be completely interesting. Like, you could see Kawhi, kind of like the Kyrie Irving situation, being shopped around in so many different teams. And the difference between Kyrie and Kawhi is that Kawhi is not a 6 foot point. It's not a 6'1", 6'2" point guard. Kawhi Leonard is an all NBA defender, a top 7 to 10 player in the entire league, and also probably the best on-ball defender in the league as well too. And he can give you 24 to 25 points a game at the small forward position as well too. I'm sure with the relationship that the Spurs have with guys, over the years, Pop worked out everything with LaMarcus Aldridge. Now Aldridge will probably be an all-star when they make the reserve announcements later on this week. So let's see how this turns out. Now, mind you, Spurs still are the third best team in the Western Conference, even without Kawhi and Leonard only playing 7 games. They won 30. I think they're 30-13 of this recording. So it's not like they're going to be at the lottery. It's not a Tim Duncan or David Robinson situation where the team is completely awful to the point where they're going to get a top overall pick. But it's something to keep an eye on, especially as the season progresses, because really, in hindsight, if Leonard can be back for the playoffs and be at the high level, that's when the Spurs need him the most. They don't need him right now. He's one of the few players in the league that can take a significant amount of time off. The team is still good enough and can make an impact in the playoffs. Speaking of impact, Tony Parker has now been demoted to the bench. Mr. Murray at the point guard will be taking over from the point guard position for the Spurs going forward. Other NBA news that's been going on, of course, everybody knows about the All-Star game. The reserves will be announced on Wednesday, with the selections being made on Thursday, 25th. And we all know LeBron James and Stephen Curry are captains, and the NBA has decided not to televise this draft live, which could be the biggest epic fail the league has had in years since the lockout. You have something that is highly anticipated, and you have to understand LeBron James has the first overall pick. With Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant both in that starter pool, it's going to be real interesting to see if LeBron takes either one of those two guys with the first pick, or if there's available with the third pick. Because I'm sure that Stephen Curry is not going to take Kyrie Irving with his first selection. He'd probably go for his teammate if LeBron decides to go in a different direction. But the All-Star format this year is a little bit different. For those who haven't been paying attention, there is going to be basically 2 rounds. There'll be LeBron and Steph picking from the starter pool, which was the 8 players that were not captains who were voted as all-star starters. you can basically mix and match guys from east to west as long as you have 3 guards on your roster by the time the draft is over. The coaches will pick the reserves, and that reserve pool will be out, and that'll be the second round of the draft where Curry and LeBron will be mixing and matching those guys as well as the reserves as well too. Those announcements will be made on Thursday on TNT before their usual Thursday night telecast. The guys in the starter pool, as we know right now, Kyrie Irving, DeMar DeRozan, Joel Embiid, LeBron and Giannis Antetokounmpo will be part of the team players that be selected from the East, and part of the West selection, Kevin Durant, Anthony Davis, DeMarcus Cousins, as well as James Harden will be on the side, where the other 4 guys on the Western Conference side of things. Also, trade rumors going on around the NBA this week, talking about Kemba Walker and surrounding Kemba Walker and the Charlotte Hornets. Kemba Walker was basically put on the block early in the week by the Charlotte Hornets in an effort to probably, in Michael Jordan's eyes, shed some of this cap and also start a rebuilding process for Charlotte. Now, the sad thing for the Hornets is that this team has been snake-bitten injuries over the last couple of years. Guys have been just literally in and out of the lineup. Charlotte has not had a full team as far as players or coaches. Steve Clifford missed a whole bunch of time with health issues at the beginning of the season. Cody Zeller is hurt again this year. Nicholas Batum didn't start the season healthy. And there have been a multitude of injuries all across the roster. And really the main stalwart over the last couple of years has been Walker. Walker was an all-star last year after being deservingly not so, and Walker is one of the more underrated point guards in the NBA. I have him as one of my top 10 point guards in the entire league. At the same time, when you look at Charlotte and what the roster states, that it's not Walker that's the cap issue. It's when you're paying guys like Marvin Williams over $15 million a year, Michael K. Gilchrist around the same way. Zeller is making around that same price, and Nick Batum is also maxed out. With acquiring Dwight Howard's contract, Charlotte has no wiggle room. And, I forgot, Jeremy Lamb is making a nice little salary as well, too. Charlotte has no wiggle room to really make any type of impact. Now, the word is out of the camp of the Hornets is that if they're going to make a move for Walker, it's going to cost whoever's taking him back a young stud, a draft pick, and other players, and some team taking on somebody else's salary other than Walker's. We're talking maybe Batum, which, like I said, is a max deal. You're looking at potentially Marvin Williams' contract. I think it's like $14.5 million. Kid Gilchrist is around that same range. Like I said, Zeller, Dwight Howard. Somebody is taking a contract to come back. And the latest I heard on my side was, like I said, the Knicks have offered, the Knicks would be, the Knicks are a great possibility for Kemba as well as the Philadelphia 76ers. The Knicks could offer Frank Ntilikina, the point guard they drafted in the first round this year, as well as they have their own lottery pick, among other players on the roster not named Kristaps Porzingis or Tim Hardaway Jr. Now, the real hesitant thing for the Knicks don't want to take back any salary, so any player that comes back any type of deal, you're not going to see a guy with a huge salary. Now, in Kemba's case, Kemba doesn't make nowhere near as much as the rest of the players, so that's why Jordan and the Hornets and Rich Cho and those guys are looking to move a guy for salary. Other trade rumors I've heard about the league is, of course, the Chicago Bulls, one of the more surprising teams in the NBA. And when I say one of the more surprising teams in the league is the fact of the Bulls were supposed to be bad. In the case of the Chicago Bulls right now, the Bulls were supposed to be one of those teams fighting and tanking for Marvin Bagley. On the way to tanking for Bagley, the team started winning games. Beginning of the season, Nikola Mirotic got punched in the jaw, had his jaw broken by Bobby Portis, and then at the same time, when Portis was suspended for the first few games of the season and Mirotic healed, the Bulls actually healed themselves and they started winning. Lauri Markkanen turned into a dark horse candidate for the Rookie of the Year, and Chris Dunn has actually turned into a real life point guard, living up to the potential that he had when he came from Providence. On top of that, they've got solid play from Justin Holiday, as well as Robin Lopez down low. But most importantly, they now have Zach LaVine back, and LaVine has been showing signs of big scoring numbers in limited minutes that he's been playing. So you add all those pieces together, and a team that's trying to tank, and it looks as though the Bulls are actually contending for a playoff spot. They are right behind the Hornets. They're actually a full game behind the Hornets in the standings right now and climbing up the Eastern Conference ladder. The Knicks are starting to play some of the worst basketball of the season, which they've always done in January in the first place. And now the Bulls are moving up. They're passing the Hornets. They're a game behind the Hornets actually as of right now, and they're fighting for that A spot in the Eastern Conference. With the fact of teams like Orlando being bad, as well as Atlanta, you could be better than those teams anyway. And the higher the Bulls get up, the less likely they are to get one of those superstars in the draft. Well, trade rumors aside, the Bulls have one serious trade piece, but the trade piece actually controls where he goes. Nikola Mirotic has been shopped around, and Mirotic has been wanted by a few teams, including teams like the Utah Jazz, the Philadelphia 76ers, among other teams of the Detroit Pistons. And the thing with Mirotic is that Mirotic has the ability to veto a trade, because if he gets traded anywhere across the league, he does relinquish his bird rights. And the most important thing about bird rights is the fact that bird rights will allow the team that owns the bird rights to go over the salary cap to sign a player and pay him more money. So Mirotic is a second year of a contract with the bird rights, doesn't want to give that up, knowing that it's a pretty huge payday coming around the corner. So since it's a simple night, Monday night in the NBA, of course, Monday night is now the first night of TNT's Monday Night NBA series. Players only will go back from NBA TV, which have been doing it the entire season, going over to TNT starting tonight. So every Monday night, since the NFL season basically is over in next week, it's going to be Monday Night NBA, and the game they have on deck tonight. No, Monday night actually starts next week. NBA TV does have a doubleheader tonight, capped off with the Rockets and Heat at 8 p.m. Eastern time, and late in the game is Timberwolves and the Clippers. So if you're looking for a game to watch tonight, of course, I would say tune in on NBA TV to watch the Heat and Rockets, two teams that are kind of similar in a lot of ways. The Heat, in their last effort, just stole it literally from Charlotte as James Johnson literally stole the ball. Josh Richardson stole the ball as James Johnson scored 5 points in about a 7-second stretch to give the Heat a 106-105 victory, of course, over the Charlotte Hornets, have we talked about. The Hornets lost another game at home again. They go to Houston to take on the Houston Rockets, a team that on national TV on Saturday night just literally outshot the Golden State Warriors at home. James Harden and Clint Capella said to the media after the game that they are not scared of the Houston Rockets. They're going to take it to them all the time and every place to go. So, as I said, the show on the pod will be up on a regular basis. I'll be recording these pods on a pretty consistent basis. Like I said, no more than 10 to 12, 15 minutes on tops on these podcasts, but I enjoy doing these things. I would love to have your feedback. And so the next one is going to be a Q&A, which I'll probably do sometime Wednesday or maybe Thursday. Check out my work. Like I said, I'll be at the Magic and Kings game down here tomorrow, checking out De'Aaron Fox and a couple of other players, Justin Jackson, and also all the Kings young guys as well too. So hit me up on Twitter at NBADT29. Also follow us at Around the Association on Facebook, and check out the website, which is www.aroundtheassociation.com. I'll post this in a few places. I would love to have feedback. Like I said, we're going to make this a better event every single time we do this. So like I said, this is Dave Thompson for Around the Association, the podcast. We will catch you guys later.